they're waiting later and later.
Oh, there are.
And a lot of it is...
I got my own sign in the truck.
Good!
There's a video doing it.
Let's go. Let's go. Wait, lumberjack.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today and showing a public show of support for Jose Figueroa and his family. My name's Jonathan Dick. I'm his friend and neighbor. I'm a teacher here in Langley, and I've just been helping the last few years just organize in terms of getting the public aware of what's going on. And I'm just going to be introducing a few people to say some words of welcome. And I'm just going to start by acknowledging that we're on the traditional territory of the Kwantlen, Katzie, and Musqueam people. And was talking to some of the Kwantlen elders who expressed their support for Jose as well and are outraged that he would be forced to leave. They weren't able to join us today, but just wanted to say that we're grateful for their support as well. And then the next person whose territory we're on is Pastor Carl from the Walnut Grove Lutheran Church, who have offered sanctuary to Jose, and I'm going to let Pastor Carl say a few words.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you to you people who have come and supported us here. I'm sorry I was not able to be here. I just arrived. I had a previous appointment for months ago that I was already committed to. But to come here and to see what I saw coming down the street and to see all of you here, it was certainly heartwarming to me. I have to honestly say I never ever believed as I was working with Jose that this would ever come to this point. When our congregation or our leadership was talking about perhaps a couple of years ago if he needed sanctuary, I said, I don't believe it could possibly come to this. If we just use our common sense, this thing would have been easily taken care of. I was speaking to some of the leadership of the CBSA just this past week and asked them if they had read the Truth Report, because it was in the Truth Report where we see what really took place in El Salvador when the Truth Report was signed in 1992, and the United Nations wrote this report, and they said they gave amnesty to everybody so that the truth could come out. In that Truth Report, it said that the FMLN did 5% of the atrocities that took place during the Civil War. The government of the day did 85%. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the math to see where the problems were in the country. And so if they had read this kind of a report, I don't see how in the world they could possibly have written the types of reports that they did in saying that the FMLN was a terrorist organization, but the government wasn't a terrorist organization doing 85% of these atrocities as the war was carried on. So I've asked them to take a look at that, to read that, so that they could give perhaps a true report of really what took place and why Jose joined the FMLN. I even asked them, what would you have done had you been a graduate from high school and then in university? Which group would have you felt that you would have had to support? The one doing 85% or the one that ultimately did 5%? But what was so unique to also know is that Jose never was even a combatant. His role was to recruit as many people through the university and other places to join the FMLN in order that they would be strong enough so that they could sign a peace agreement. That's exactly what happened in El Salvador, and he was a part of helping to sign a peace agreement. And for that, he should be deported from Canada? That doesn't make sense to me at all. So again, we want to support Jose as much as we can here at Walnut Grove Lutheran Church, and we will. And we thank you for your support as well. God bless you all, and thank you for being a part of the group today.
Thank you, Pastor Carl. We also have some local dignitaries, elected officials from the city of Langley, where Jose and his family live, though Jose is not currently in the city. But we have two councillors that came out to express their support. So Rosemary Wallace, if you'd like to start.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for all of you coming out and supporting Jose and his family. I just want to say how grateful I am that this church is supporting Jose and has been doing that for a while. I think this has gone on long enough. It's 5 years, and just what this family has to go through every day just thinking about Jose being deported. This is the first time that I've met Jose today, and he is definitely not a terrorist. He is a man full of peace. You can see his heart. You can see it in his children. You see it in his family. He wants to give back to this. He does give back to this community. He's all about peace, and that's probably what he's been all about from the day that he's been born till now. So he has my full support, and I'm going to keep plugging away for him. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. And also Councillor David Hall from Langley City.
Thank you. I want to believe that I live in a country that is humane and compassionate. I want to believe that I live in a country that cherishes families, that believes in reunification, not division. I want to believe that I live in a country that has a justice system that doesn't use a one-size-fits-all, bureaucratic, fall back on the red tape scenario, that takes each individual case and judges it on its merit. I want to believe that we can stand together to send a message to the government to overturn this atrocity.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Yes. I want to believe that I live in a country where we as a group can stand up and be listened to to be consulted, a government that listens to the people and not their bureaucrats. I want to believe that we stand together today, and this will build momentum, and there will be change. I am Jose. We are Jose. If you hear me, let them hear you. 3 times now. We are Jose. We are Jose. We are Jose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. We also had been working with some folks that have been have had previous experience working on sanctuary cases, and I'm wondering if anyone from No One Is Illegal made it out. I haven't. Was Carla or somebody from No One's Illegal? Did they make it? No? Okay. They've been pretty busy this weekend as well. But that's another group that works on behalf of migrant justice that we've been working with. We also have another local pastor or two that have been involved with their congregations that wanted to say a few words. And actually, was Emily from New West? Emily? No? Okay, so then we have, I believe, Vic Cornish from the local Christ Church Vineyard was going to be saying a few words on behalf of that church community as well. Vic.
Thanks, Jonathan. It is so fantastic to see you all here this afternoon and taking this time to support Jose. We've known their family for a number of years now and just so much appreciate them and stand with them. This week was, as you probably well know, a big week in Ottawa, the throne speech. And it was interesting. I noticed a couple of things, especially in that throne speech. One was that they bestowed honorary citizen upon a wonderful young 16-year-old, Malala. And like Nelson Mandela earlier, she also represents people who are fighting for the basic freedoms, human freedoms that we cherish as Canadians. And I applaud our country for giving her honorary citizenship. I just feel that it is so sad to see how broken, and this was the second thing I noticed in the throne speech, that we have a broken immigration system. And that was acknowledged in the throne speech. I would hope, as has already been said, that in this great country of ours, where we cherish freedoms, that we would absolutely see Jose and his family given freedom and citizenship in our wonderful country. And we support that with all our hearts. And so I would say to our ministers, the Minister of Immigration, the Minister of Public Safety especially, because these are the two that have the authority to make these decisions. In the words of a great theologian, let's make it right!
Thank you, Vic. We do have someone from No One Is Illegal that managed to join us, and I want to invite Shireen to say a few words.
Hi. I actually didn't plan on speaking today, so sorry if it's a little not all very concise. But yeah, I want to extend my my heart and my solidarity with Jose and his family, and also just recognizing that being a subject to this broken immigration system that was just mentioned, for example, that Canada has, and the more oppressive and more awful and conservative that it's getting, year after year, we're seeing more and more deportations, less and less people being accepted as refugees, less and less people even being able to get to the border in order to try to claim refugee status. And Jose and his family, unfortunately, has been suffering and experiencing this awful immigration system that is consistently getting worse and worse and more oppressive in separating families and taking people out of Canada who have been rooting their lives in their communities and have been contributing to their communities just as much as everyone despite status. For example, yesterday I was just reading about 2 girls in Regina, Saskatchewan, who were going to school in a university for 3 years, and after working for a week, and unfortunately they didn't know they were not supposed to work, they had to also seek refuge in a church, just like Jose, and are now being deported, unfortunately, as well. And this is happening over and over again throughout Canada and throughout North America. And thank you. It's so wonderful to see so many people and so many community members standing up against it and saying that this isn't right and you're separating our families and our communities, and we will not stand for it. And I think this has to consistently happen, and for all of us to look into ourselves to recognize even more situations as this is happening. There's a lot of people coming onto the border, and they don't even get to leave the airport, because actually in the airport there are detention cells where some refugee claimants just stay there and aren't even allowed to leave the airport before they're deported back to their countries. And I think it's incredible that everyone is coming out to educate themselves, and it's just more necessary to keep educating ourselves and keep educating our families and our friends for more and more of us to come together and create more resistance against this government that we don't support, and telling them that you're implementing these policies that we don't support and are breaking up our communities. And it's incredible to see everyone out, and I extend my solidarity and my support to Jose and his family, and to the community that I see it has impacted so much. And I'm sure that this will make an impact, and I know that it will, and I will not stand to see anything else happen but to see Jose's family come together again. So I'm looking forward to that time, and I extend my support and my strength to you. So thank you everyone for coming out.
Thanks, Shereen. We also have a member of the COPE party in Vancouver with us, Wilson Munoz, who I met a week ago, and we were able to deliver a letter to the El Salvadorian consulate in Vancouver that was directed to the president, asking the president of El Salvador to intervene. And I'll let Wilson speak to that briefly.
Thank you. I really want to thank you on behalf of the Coalition of Progressive Electors, political party from the city of Vancouver, and also on behalf of the Latin American community. It's really great to see the support of the Lutheran Church, the support of the Canadian people in Langley. We have many immigrants among the crowd, I can see them. And also, we really want to thank No One Is Illegal, because they stopped the deportation, and they were great support when Carla Lotini, a journalist from Mexico, was going to be deported. So they did a great campaign, great job. So I want to thank No One Is Illegal for all their support. And also among the crowd we have Glenn Mitchell of the Anglican Church of St. Mary's, Kerrisdale in Vancouver. Also Glenn started the moment we delivered the letter to the Salvadorian consulate in Vancouver. He started a reverse deportation order. And in 1 week, he collected 500 signatures that were sent to the Minister of Immigration and Public Safety. So thank you very much, Glenn, for all the support, and started that immediate reaction. And we are also here because the precedent that will be set if Jose is deported is very serious, not only for the Latin American community, but for the immigrant community at large. we don't understand, and probably this can be explained later, why the Canadian Border Service Agency, on recommendation of the Immigration and Refugee Board, decides to designate the FMLN as a terrorist organization, and what is even worse, they decide to send back Jose to El Salvador without taking in consideration what he and his family have done in Canada for 16 years. So that obviously doesn't count. But what is even more troublesome is that the Minister of Foreign Affairs attended the Salvadorian election in 2009 when Mauricio Funes, the actual president of El Salvador, and the FMLN came to power. And his words, quote unquote, said elections in El Salvador were clear and free. And then 2 years later, in 2011, the Canadian government had a workshop on democracy and ethics, together with the actual president of El Salvador and the FMLN. So now that they come 2 years later to say that because of his affiliation, because Jose in a particular moment was organizing with the FMLN in El Salvador, and we were all organizing, because I used to work for the University of El Salvador, we were all part of the people because they were being repressed. And now, because of that work, because of the political work, he is deemed to be a terrorist. So that's totally wrong. We believe Canadian values are different. Is the progressive conservative government, probably some people are progressive here, that is okay, but I believe it's the policy that is wrong. And it's the policy that has to be corrected, because the FMLN is not on the list of terrorist organizations. Otherwise, people like Nelson Mandela or Rigoberta Menchú, who is from Guatemala, was a refugee in Canada, she was in Vancouver, also would be declared inadmissible based on this interpretation of the immigration law that I believe is an individual interpretation and doesn't have any reflection of the Canadian values. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wilson Manos. Another group that's been very supportive is the BC Teachers Federation, which has written a few letters of support as well, as well as the local Langley Teachers Association. And unfortunately, none of the executive members of either of these groups are able to join us today. They have zone meetings across the province, though I did see quite a few teachers in the crowd as well, people that have worked with the Figueroa children, and it's great to see you. But I just wanted to read the letter that the Langley teachers wrote to the minister. Dear Minister Alexander, on behalf of the 1,500 members of the Langley Teachers Association, we urge that you act to stop the deportation of Jose Figueroa, resident of Langley, BC, and give him legal immigrant status in Canada. Mr. Figueroa spent 15 years in Canada to date, or 16 now, and has a family with 3 children born in Canada. He's demonstrated a positive record as a resident of Canada and recognized by the many people who have spoken out in support of Mr. Figueroa being granted legal permanent residence here. Mr. Figueroa has 3 children attending schools in Langley. They're part of our community and loved, supported by those who know them well. Teachers, members of the LTA who work on a daily basis with these children continue to request their union to speak out on behalf of the deplorable situation this family has been placed in as a result of decisions made by the Canadian government. We understand that the rationale for refusing legal status from his past membership in the FMLN while he was a university student. That was a period of turmoil in the country and he was not involved in violent actions. The FMLN is now the elected government of El Salvador, an indication that their past efforts to oppose the oppression have been accepted by the El Salvadorian society. We again urge the government give legal status for Mr. Figueroa to stay in Canada with his family. Yours sincerely, Gail Chata Costello, President of the LTA. Yes, the Surrey teachers as well. There's been an outpouring across the province. Just before we let you hear from Jose, who has to stay in the building, we have a founding member of the We Are Jose Support Committee and a professor of political science at UBC, Maxwell Cameron, to say a few words.
When I was about 17 years old, I traveled to Central America. And I traveled by land from Guatemala into El Salvador. And I remember crossing the border one of the first things that I saw was graffiti along the walls that said, "Be a patriot, kill a priest." And that was the beginning of over a decade of repression in El Salvador. A few months later, Archbishop Romero gave a sermon in which he said, "No one is obliged to obey an unjust order." And then he directed his words to the soldiers in El Salvador, and he said to them, "I ask you, I beg you, I order you in the name of God to stop the repression." And the next day he was shot while giving mass by the death squads in El Salvador. That event was one of the key moments that motivated so many people to fight against the repression in El Salvador. And in fact, in the service for Romero's funeral, the soldiers fired indiscriminately into the crowds that had gathered, killing dozens of people and wounding many, many more. Jose was one of many students who who stepped up at that time to fight against this repressive dictatorship. And I remember seeing on television the image of a young student in the university in San Salvador being forced to lie down on the ground in one of the pavilions of the university. And as he lay there, a soldier fired a bullet into his body. His body jerked and then was still. And I remember watching that and thinking at that time, someday I'll have the chance to do something in the memory of that unknown, unnamed victim of repression. And so when I was approached to support the Jose campaign, I thought, this is an opportunity to do something for those many thousands of people who were killed in El Salvador. The peasants, the students, the teachers. And so when I say, I am Jose, and we say, we are Jose, we mean, we know that Jose was like so many of the victims of repression in El Salvador. And I think that's who we are remembering as well today. And so I thank you for your support. And I hope that together we can stop this unjust order that would break apart a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Max Cameron. All right. So we're just going to take a microphone in for Jose. He's got it? Okay, so Jose Figueroa, speaking from within the grave, as it were. The voice of the man that's still alive and still here.
I don't know what to say. The support that you guys are giving us is so great. And I would like to be out there with you, but I cannot cross this door because I am being repressed by the Canadian government. The first day I came here took sanctuary. CBSA's officers were right there planning how they were going to be stalking me, lurking me. They have been here 24 hours a day. Last Monday, my daughter and I, we were inside. Somebody knocked at the door. They were scared. CBSAs are coming. CBSAs are coming. It wasn't CBSA. It was one of our neighbors that were bringing us some food for Thanksgiving. Well, what I thought, I just stood right there and I said, my kids, they don't need to be afraid of that situation. So I invented a game. Let's spy on CBSA and wave. So I told them, they usually park right there at the clearance over there by those trees, and sometimes they park over on that side to be looking that I don't leave this building. So I told my daughters, let's go and do that and wave at them because you don't need to be scared. The following day, my daughters say I was inside, and all of a sudden they say, Dad, I saw CBSA. She was walking right there. Oh, she looked so innocent. But you know what? That's something that shouldn't be happening here in Canada. Why is this happening? And it's happening because there is a law that is not finished. That law is affecting the life of many people. It's affecting the life of my family. It's affecting the life of many immigrants, not only Salvadorians. Anybody who comes from a country that have suffered the same situation like in El Salvador, they could be found inadmissible because the law says so. The lawyers, the judges say, well, the law is the law. So you must go because this is what is written in the law. Even though they realize that I had done nothing wrong. So why are they doing this to us? Please, I want you to continue praying for us. The church have given us this opportunity. Well, I had to take this sanctuary because otherwise I would have been thrown away, being split from my family, not seeing my kids anymore because that's the idea of the Canadian government. I have been speaking up their mistakes, and because they don't realize that they are hurting my family, my kids need me. I cannot go out there, but you are there. You can speak for us. Please visit our website, www.wearejose.org. Please visit us, comment on this, express your opinion, raise your voices, because that's the only way that we are going to be heard on this situation. I feel that this situation, it has been 2 weeks. Every day CBSA's officers have been lurking on me. But this is what I used to be in El Salvador, just always looking over my shoulder because the death squads were targeting people that were organized with the students' unions or whatever way that they were trying to oppose of that repressive regime that killed more than 85,000 people in a 12-year period. And that oppressive regime, well, they don't call them terrorists. Pastor Carl Kellen says that clear, you know. Well, it doesn't take a rocket science to say this, you know. I am so glad that you guys are expressing your support, and that I hope that this can spread more and more so that there are changes that needs to be done. But those changes won't be done unless there is democracy, there is freedom, unless people can speak against those situations. Right now, yesterday, I noticed that there were some CBSA officers. Probably they know about this rally. They knew that the people were going to be gathering here. But the moment you guys come here, you give us so much strength. And please, I just beg you, spread the word. Get everybody to sign petitions, speak up, write to the Minister of Public Safety. That's the one that he can make this end right now at this moment with the stroke of a pen or a phone call. He doesn't have to do anything else to be waiting for a report from a CBSA. No, just he has to listen to the people, and if he doesn't, then who has to be found accountable for that? So I just want to thank you very much for this, and please, feel free. I'm going to be here, take a picture, do whatever it takes in order to make everybody know that this is not right.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for coming out and showing your support. If you want to stay tuned, there is the We Are Jose website or Facebook group or Facebook page that you can follow along.